Hi, welcome to DramaMeans. We're talking about the 2024 Thai BL drama, The Trainee. Today, drama means fake it till you make it, drama means unexpected friendship, and drama means being yelled at till you stop making mistakes.
First, we have a little bit of a summary. A young man accompanies his friend to his internship interview at a high-profile production company, and while he's waiting, ends up accidentally being hired for the job. Even though he knows nothing about production, he decides to accept the position and join his fellow interns as they chase their own dreams in life, love, and career.
So when I first started watching this, I kept thinking back about our PA days.
The good old days where you make no money and do all the work.
Yeah, and have 14 plus hour days and...
Can you even remember all the different types of PAs you've been? Because there's like production PAs and there's art office department PAs and office PA.
Yeah.
There's the everything PA.
Yeah. Yeah, I do remember all those. Oh, gosh. I remember, the moving of, couches up the stairs. And...
You were moving couches because they were going to the production office, or was it like an on-set thing?
It was on set, so...
Unions! Set decorating union will come and chop your hands off on a real movie set for a sort of that sort of thing.
In reality, there's no unions. No. So, you remember it was the, Crossroads. And I had to...
some reality show. I don't remember what it was about, but I do remember the show.
Yeah, and I had to help lift this freaking couch, the sofa, the long kind, up these, stairs. Because they were moving the couch from one, room to the next room. Because they were doing interviews there.
It's those kind of shoots, the non-union ones, where you get massively abused, but then you also learn a lot because there's just a ton of jobs they haven't hired people for.
Yeah.
And I remember as an intern one time, I was literally standing there on set. It was like a talk show kind of thing. And they were like, hey, can you run the teleprompter machine? And I was like, what? No. Well, you're going to learn. And I ran the teleprompter for 2 minutes until I got fired from teleprompter duty because I was not good at it.
Well, that also reminds me of Ryan in the show where, they had him do... God, I can't even remember what they had him do now. But you were saying, why would they think an intern knows that? Interns don't know what that is.
We don't when we're interns.
Yeah.
But I guess there is, like you said, fake it till you make it. When you're an intern, you never want to say, no, I can't do that. You want to at least give it a shot. And when you're working in a small production house or an ad agency or a reality TV, everyone is wearing 10 hats. You have production coordinators who are making production runs and going to get groceries. It's that's not their job, but someone had to do it. So they got in a van and they did it.
This day and age, things are a lot different from how when we first started working. And I know a lot of people had a lot of issues with this drama because they were saying Jane is super unprofessional for yelling at Ryan so much and just taking his anger or just loudly yelling at Ryan. And then also people had issues with Bami going and doing an internship at the same company as her boyfriend. And I just keep thinking there are just times when this is how production is. This is how, I've literally been called a piece of shit before. I've also gone in to an interview where I'm being interviewed and they're warning me. They're oh, your job is to be the director's assistant and this director's very difficult. He will literally make you blow on hot soup so it's cool enough for him to drink or eat, whatever.
Yeah, because I think for a long time, and it still goes on, for a long time, really creative people are given a pass to not behave like human beings because there are so few truly gifted creative people, right? So you get a truly gifted artist, which was what directors and, actors and people like that are. the whole thing depends on them doing their job well. So then, like all humans do, you see what you can get away with. You know, oh, I remember I had a friend who was on a show, and he was like, oh, the company started paying for our lunch. And so I was like, oh, I'm going to order lunch. And then I'm going to order a dessert with lunch. And then I'm going to order a drink with lunch. Well, if they're paying for lunch, I'll order a breakfast burrito. Oh, they paid for the breakfast burrito? I wonder if I could take dinner home. Like, we all see what we can get away with. And unfortunately, it doesn't always breed nice people. It doesn't always breed professionalism. Like, no one deserves to get, like, screamed at.
Yeah.
But it happens.
On set, like, it's just these, like, everything is so important. At least they treat it that way, you know? So any little mistake, it's like, so I was on a movie set. Can I say the name?
Just say the name, it's fine.
It's a long time ago. I was on a movie set called Lucky You.
Gambling movie in early 2000s,
Yeah.
shot in Vegas.
So it was my first time on a movie set because before that, it's always been reality for me. So I didn't really know what to do. I went from, you know, doing one thing where I'm like herding the extras in to like blocking off doors. So like, you know, normal people that are going into the casino trying to gamble don't go through the door at that moment. So I ran into a classmate and he was the head PA that day. And so he had told me, don't let anyone eat from catering. You know, like we need to let certain people eat first, right? And I'm like, okay. So I was stopping everyone from eating catering and everyone was making a fuss. And they're like, we're SAG. We can eat. It's our time to eat. And they just got so pissed. Then a producer comes on and is like, oh, you have to let them eat. They're SAG. Like, what are you doing? Right? And then my classmate, her name starts with an S. He comes over and then they're like, why would you let her not let the SAG actors eat? And he looks at me straight in the eyes and is like, what are you doing? Why would you do that? Even though he's the one that told me to not let anyone eat from catering.
Yeah, it's called cover your ass.
He threw me under the bus so freaking hard. And then I'm like, from then on, I'm like the terrible PA that doesn't know what the hell they're doing, you know? And like the only people at the rest of the night, which I was there for 16 hours, right? For the rest of the night, the only two people that were even willing to talk to me were the two cops working, you know, security or whatever. And he's like, you've been here for a long time. You know, it's like illegal for you to be here for more than, you know, however long. And I'm like, well, it's a production set. Well, like, that's what they teach you in school. It's always going to be 14 plus hours.
Which now is so rare. I think there are sets that do it. But I think in a general way, nothing is really going to change that much about production sets. But then also, you do see a lot more rules. I think more of the toxic behavior these days gets called out than it used to be. Like people that call people into their office and then just scream at them. Like I remember the days where you get called into like the production manager's office, the door would close and then they would get screamed at so everyone else could hear. And then come out of there with their tail between their legs, you know, that kind of thing. I think it's always going to be a part of it, but I do think in this new day and age, there's always going to be someone more powerful than you on set. And so there's always someone that goes, hey, why did you talk to that person that way? Like an actor can come and go to the producer and go, why did you talk to that person that way? I'm going to call the studio. And they do. They 100% do. And people who think they're untouchable find out really quick how untouchable they aren't. So, but it's such a pressure cooker because production days are long. You're expected to do a lot of work in a short amount of time. Every mistake costs you money. Every mistake costs the client money, whether it's the studio, a network, a company, you know, whoever's paying the bills, like they expect things to be done and done the way they want them to be. And it's also a subjective business. So it's like, hey, we like this. It's like, oh, we think it sucks. Do it again. So it's, yeah.
Yeah. So on the other side, where a lot of people are complaining about how unprofessional um Bami is, and she definitely is. Don't get me wrong, I'm not like standing up for her, but I do think because she's very young, she's very like uh just boyfriend on the mind. Like there's nothing else going on with her other than like she wants to always be with her boyfriend. Like I at that age in my early 20s, like I've also like did that before. I regret it to this day of a lot of things. Like I was working on American Idol, and it's a big production, and like we're going through like auditions and stuff like that, and my boyfriend did not work in the same area as me, and I just was finding every way that I can like finagle myself into like doing the same section as him so I can like talk to him and spend time with him. Did I do my job? Yes, I did. I wasn't like Bami where like totally ignore everything, but like there was a lot of like I wanted to flirt with my boyfriend at work. I regret it because I wasn't professional enough, but I did it. So it is like a young person thing, I feel like. And then also, I was working Ultimate Fighter, and I specifically asked because with Ultimate Fighter, like, you get your schedule, but you're like working throughout the weekend. There's no like weekend per se. It's just you get your day off or your days off, and then, they like somehow kind of
Stagger it. And yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, most reality shows shoot 7 days a week, but then as a worker, you're working 6 days out of those 7. So you get a day off. It's not a lot, but you get a little bit of time.
Yeah. And so I asked if my boyfriend and I could have the same day off because we wanted to celebrate 4th of July together.
How dare you?
I know. And like I it wasn't rude or anything, but my boss at the time was like, "I'll give it to you this time, but there's no way I can keep doing this for you. So just know that like next time I'm not going to be able to like schedule you where you get your days off with your boyfriend." And again, we were working together, and because at the time we were living in Vegas, like any production, everyone's flocking to do that job. So like it's not about like following them to do the same job. It's just that we're both, trying to get into the entertainment industry. We're just trying to work. So, but yeah, I had asked for that, and then like I really took that to heart. Like, I'm like, oh yeah, I was very like, it was inappropriate for me to request it. And like, to this day, I kind of like regret asking for that. But did it affect me? Really? No.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing that people on the outside of the entertainment industry don't realize is that there are certain shows that and they're not even different shows, that crews travel like packs. And so the same crew will do season after season of one show, and then someone from that crew gets a job on a new show, the line producer or production manager or executive producer, they take all their people with them. And so you end up working with the same people season after season, year after year. I mean, think about like a show like The Amazing Race. I know people from my camera assisting days that worked on Amazing Race that are still working on Amazing Race. Like once you get that job, you never let it go. The same people have been working on it. And a lot of the people are involved in relationships with each other because that's where you spend the majority of the time. If you don't work with your wife, you don't really see your wife. And so it's just not that it's, relationship work is given like a pass, because it's definitely not, but it is a lot more common for that to happen. And they don't necessarily give you the preferential treatment of going, oh, we'll give you these two people a day off because they're together. They don't really care. Like their priority and everyone's priority is to get the show done.
Yeah.
So it's a little different because you do spend so much time at work that inevitably, especially, I mean, when I was on a show they shot in New York, and they had been together for this crew 5 years before I met any of them, and we were together another 5 years after that. So these people had worked together for a decade. That's a long time to see the same people at work 13 plus hours every single day, 5 days a week. And the hiatus is a month and a half, and then you're right back to work. And that's who your family becomes because you're just spending so much time there. You sacrifice a lot to be there.
So yes, but enough of us and our stories.
I like talking about us.
But yeah, so I do understand Bami like wanting to go and do an internship at the same company as Tay. Like, they're not even in the same department. Like working marketing is actually would be good for her. So I don't really, other than the fact that she did treat it very unprofessionally in terms of like always trying, but like she learns. That's what being an intern is for. You know, like internships, like I feel like rarely do you keep working at that company. Like, yes, you want to make, you know, a good impression so you can have your references and possibly like, you know, if they like you, they'll recommend you to one of their friends and you work at their friends like company or whatever. So yes, you want to make a good impression, but in the long run, like, is your internship really going to affect you that much? No, not really.
Depends.
Well, if you royally fuck up, like, and then you get blacklisted from the industry, but
I've said this for a long time, and I've said this to many people who come into the entertainment industry and like asked me for advice. And I said one of the reasons why you don't want to skip steps, you don't want to go from like showing up in LA with no experience to being a writer, is that you want to be an intern and a PA so that when you make your mistakes, very few people are around to see them. You know, your other interns or your, you know, the PA that's looking over the interns, like those are the people who see your mistakes, and your mistakes can be kind of low stakes. Because if you came right to LA and went right into a writer's room and started putting your foot in your mouth left and right and didn't know etiquette, and didn't know how to behave, all the things you should have learned when you were an intern and a PA and office staff and all this, you embarrass yourself at such a higher level that it's hard to come back from that. So you almost need those PA intern years to make your mistakes so that you can't go to another company where they don't realize what a fuck up you were at that last job. But you did learn your lesson in the meantime, and you're much better for it. But no one's holding it against you. And I think that's the hard part that people don't. I don't want to start at the bottom and work my way up. It's like, man, I look back now, I said some stupid shit to directors and to producers I worked with as an intern where they must have looked at me and went, you dummy. But I never had to work with those people ever again because I was a dumb intern and I went off and I got a PA job somewhere else. I never talked to those people ever again. And I didn't have to make my dumb mistakes on the biggest stages.
I do agree with all the fans that Judy was very unprofessional because she really did like lean into the fact that Bami was like idolizing her or admiring her. And like she's young, she's mistaken like admiration for love. But like Judy's her boss. She's been in the business for a long time. Like she should know better.
Absolutely.
And so that was like, that is very, very unprofessional of her. And quite frankly, I also think it was unprofessional of Jane as well. It's just that Jane, there was a difference in the characters because Jane was very like pulling back, hesitant to go forward with it. And Judy was like all in.
Yeah, well, that makes a big difference.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I see what you're saying on both sides, but it does make a big difference if you're being almost proactive about it.
Yeah.
From that position that she was in.
So other than that, yeah, like I'm glad that they didn't put too much time into like this Judy and Bami thing.
Well, they're the side of side characters. I mean, Judy, isn't she kind of like
pretty much
not really worthy of an entire story, just a piece of someone else's?
The thing is, I just felt like they wanted to add a GL aspect to it.
Right. I see that.
But it's just like, but it's just, I wish we could have seen like a real couple, a real GL couple, rather than this kind of like weird bait and switch type feel. Like, it's just it's
GL bait.
Yeah, it's GL bait, and it's kind of cheap. Like they just threw it in there just to to like appease certain people without really giving it like an effort to like have a real GL couple in this show.
That's what I don't like about stuff like this a lot of times. You have a show, and let's say you have a premise for the show, and you have your main characters you're building the show around, and then someone comes in and goes, oh, hey, can you also tag this base? And you're like, but that's not what our show is about. And that's not really what we're going for. Yeah, but it would be really good for marketing, or it would be really good for this section of the audience if we could just tag this base. And then it feels like base tagging, and all the fans go, ugh, why did they do that? And you're like, well, because we thought you would like it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, nobody wants to do it except for the stupid person who gets to say, And you're like, oh, let's make sure that we hit this sort of thing. And a lot of times it has to do with, cultural or political or some statement somebody wants to make, but if it's not what the show is about, all it can be is just tagging a base.
Yeah.
And then that sells everything short. So why even go there?
Yeah. I honestly thought that Pi and Tay were going to end up together. Because, I don't know, like from the beginning, it was just like, oh yeah, this very clingy couple and very like there has to be a change, right? That's where like story would go. It's like, it's just not like a consistent, it's always going to be like this. Like, we need an up, we need a down. It needs to be some kind of roller coaster. And I really thought that at some point, Tay and Pi were going to end up together. And that would be the change of this couple, right? They did not go that way, which is fine. I did like the reunion from the 5515 cast, which is C and Playboy and View, which at the time C wasn't even matched with Jimmy yet.
Okay. I don't know what any of that means, but I am going to say, yep, that was good.
Well, the thing is, I really enjoyed 5515. So if anyone hasn't watched 5515, I think it's a pretty good.
Aren't you supposed to wait till the end to do the recommendation?
I'm not. This is like not a recommendation.
All right.
Anyway, I'm getting off subject. Yes, so that was kind of my assumption, was that Pi and Tay were going to end up together. I also felt like this production, or at least this production house, had really weirdly high expectations from their interns.
Well, I mean, like we said, like sometimes, you get asked to do things you might not be prepared for.
Yeah.
But also, do we really want to watch a show where they actually do real intern things?
Yeah, true.
Like, hey, go make this coffee. Oh my gosh, can Ryan make a cup of coffee? Stay tuned for next week's episode. And then Jane comes in and is like, you idiot! You made the coffee wrong! I said no creamer! No creamer! As he throws it against the wall. Drama.
True. You're right.
Like most intern tasks are pretty mind-numbing because they just, it's literally, I remember an internship where I had to like drag the cooler upstairs. like no one wants to see that.
Oh my god.
Like, we need them to be the heroes of our story. It's Intern Patrol, the story. Like, they're the heroes. They got to do the things that are so important.
True. You're right.
I mean, I, too, also, like, it makes you roll your eyes sometimes when you're just like, wait, what? They're saving the day? The interns? What? I've never needed an intern to save the day. Not once. Not saying that interns can't be helpful. I've had some phenomenal interns, and I've promoted interns. Like, I've had interns that then worked on the show that they interned for, which is kind of rare. So I love a good intern, but I don't think I ever had to have them save the day.
True. You're right. Anyway. So, I would say that from episode 1 to 5, I was all in with the show. I was having a good old time. I really enjoyed the relationship build because it wasn't just one of those like, hi, I'm in the intern, and immediate attraction and immediate like, we're gonna hook up, kind of thing. I needed, because for me, I feel like relationships, they grow, they build, you get to know somebody, and then you start feeling like, oh, I like this aspect of this person, and it's not, I mean, it could be like a physical attraction, but also like, I feel like you need more than physical attraction. And so when this drama came in, and it was just like, okay, first, Ryan is an intern and he's just scared of Jane. Then he, realizes that Jane is helping him. And then Jane is just like someone that is really good at his job. And then he starts like, oh, I admire Jane. And then I'm attracted to Jane. Jane is always on my mind. So just that progression, it like, for me, it really works, even though it was like kind of a slow build, you know? But there's like all this other stuff going on. So I didn't really miss like the like heavy romance, but I did appreciate the romantic tension when they gave it to us. The moments when like Jane can tell that Ryan's hungry and like immediately tries to feed him. That to me is like very important. Feeding someone you're interested in.
Oh, do you have a problem when you're hangry? It's a Snickers commercial around Mel when she's hungry.
Well,
I dated myself with that Snickers commercial, by the way. That's like 10 years old.
I know. I don't think... Do they do Snickers commercials anymore?
Of course, but they don't do that ad campaign.
Yeah. Anyway. So... But I liked it. I really liked it. And I thought the whole cookie thing was super cute, and like Ryan just getting so jealous, but he can't say anything. And then when he does say something, Jane immediately appeases him. It's just like cute. Up until Ryan confesses. And then after that, it just slammed to a halt for me. There was no more progression. The feelings faded away. It just like, then you're just watching a repetition of like people, the interns fucking up.
Well, can I say that is my problem with 90+% of romance shows, whether they're BL, whether they're, whatever it is that so many of them start from like episode 1. Here's my ideal type guy or girl or whatever, and I'm going to get them now. Or I'm really interested in this person. And then all you can really do is repetition until they get together. It's person A likes person B, person A tries to get person B says no. Start over. And then so like, I have a problem with progression in these shows a lot of times. So I appreciate the tension. The tension is what I personally show up for, is to go, well, all right, if both of these people want to be together, then why aren't they together? What's the tension? What's keeping them apart? Because as soon as he confesses, there's nothing keeping them apart, except for kind of convoluted reasons that you now need to keep them apart, because your show would be literally over if they got together.
Yeah. And the thing is, they did show, like, when Ryan confesses to Jane was, like, shocked, but not really in this, like, shocked like he didn't know that Ryan had feelings for him. It's just, like, now he has to reply, which he didn't. There's a scene where, like, at the scene, he's, like, kind of sitting on the desk. Ryan says it to him. He's like, I like you. And then it shows Jane's, like, hand kind of grasping, like, holding tight onto his desk. And that's, like, him, like almost, like, holding himself back from, like, acting on his attraction towards Ryan. The thing is, the show itself, it didn't give us anything after that. Like, They kind of text each other a little bit. It's just that we needed more from Jane after the confession. We needed to see him struggle more. We need we need to see that he is having a hard time, like, do I act on my attraction, or do I care more about my job? And how can I balance this out? Like things like that. Like we need to see that.
Yeah.
We
You need
need
to experience the emotion of the thing that's keeping them apart.
Yeah.
Like, why isn't he just going for it? Oh, he isn't going for it because he has to think about his job. He has to think about his position. He has to think about the morality of it.
Yes. And they completely skip over that. They just do more obstacles of like interns fucking up, more a third party coming in and like, you know, now Ryan's jealous and like Jane is going to work off with like his ex-boyfriend, and it's just like we don't need shit like that. We need more character development and emotional development. And they are lacking in emotional development in this whole drama.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like they had a plan for like they didn't know what to do with themselves. Like it's like that metaphor of like the dog catching the car. It's like a dog will chase a car down the street, but if it ever caught it, it wouldn't really know what to do with it. And that's kind of what that feels like. Is like tension. Oh, they can have cute moments. Oh, are they? Will they? Won't they? And so you're making us all salivate with a what could have been. And then once they caught the car, they didn't really know what to do. They were kind of like, oh, I guess we'll just distract the audience until the show's over, basically, is what it feels like.
Yeah. So I also feel the same thing with the whole Bami and Tae breakup. After the breakup, and they're like supposed to be sad, right? Upset that they've broken up. Bami feels bad. Tae is like, she, you know, doesn't like me anymore or whatever. She's interested in someone else because I fucked up, because I didn't give her the time she needed or the attention she needed. Things like that. But it felt so surface. You didn't feel it. You didn't feel the melancholy. And then it turned into humor and comedy where like Tae is like looking like a mess and all his friends are like worried about him, and it's just like I'm like, I need more emotion. I know they're like the side couple, but I just need more emotional development, and they really did not give it to us. And everything was so surface. And even the whole part where like, you know, Ryan's music video gets stolen. Like they just kind of brushed right past through that, and everything was super surface. And the only thing I did like was that Ryan's like, I trust him and I want to talk to him. I want to hear his side of the story. And other people who are talking shit about him behind his back, like, you guys need to step off because you haven't even heard his side yet. I did like that aspect of it. But again, everything is so surface. Everything is just words that are being said, not emotions that are being felt.
Do you think, and this is a real question because it makes me feel like this show had a little bit of a lack of premise. Like it had a setup. He goes in for a job, or he goes to, his friend is going for a job interview, and then he ends up with a job. He has no idea what he's doing, and he has to kind of, find his way through it. And for him personally, having kind of a lack of direction, the idea of finding your way through it, I get the metaphor, right? After that, it feels like all the drama is kind of just circumstantial to the events and doesn't really have a through metaphor. It doesn't really have a cohesiveness other than, hey, we're going to put these quirky kids in an office and they're going to work together. Hilarity ensues, drama ensues. It's like, it just feels a little meh, nothing.
You're right. You're right. Like, there's not an actual structure.
Yeah.
To it. It is just like, a lot of people like slice of life, but even with a slice of life, there is a beginning, middle, and end.
Yeah, and it felt like this, I think we talked about it before, of like, what do these characters really want? What are they really driving for? And it kind of felt like they wanted whatever the plot device had them want in the moment. Whatever contrivance, whatever situation came up, they wanted to solve that. But overall, their deeper wants is kind of like I can't really pick them. And so I think that's why you have this lack of depth and emotional depth, because what do these characters really want? What do they really ache their heart for? I don't know. Like interning? But can we talk about the best part? Can we talk about the really important photocopier that delivers magic messages between two people? Because that's a really good way to communicate flirts.
Like the absolute stupidest thing ever. Like who would think that that's a good idea? Like any idiot would know, hey, if we're secretly dating, let's not fucking put it on paper.
But let's not put it in paper in a public area and then miraculously don't get found out. But then they throw the paper into a bin of reuse material that will get reused again. So you're like, how many opportunities can we present ourselves to get caught? Like it makes no sense.
Absolute no sense.
But I think this goes back to what I was just saying of like lack of premise, right? Writers got around a table and said, okay, we need them to communicate in a way which will ultimately get them caught, or at least bring this tension up that they might get caught. Any ideas, everybody? And then people start throwing out ideas, and you have to understand if idea is stupid. Because this idea is stupid. But I have a fix, and I can tell you how to make this idea not stupid. So anyone out there that wants to write something about secret copy machine messages, this is how you would do it. If you had a secret admirer and you wanted to communicate to a secret admirer that you knew the copy machine, that went to the copy machine often, and you knew when they went there, you could leave them little secret messages through the copy machine. They're anonymous. You're watching from the corner like a creeper, and they walk to the copy machine and they see the cute little message like, hey, you've got a cute butt. And then they look around and they don't see anybody watching. Like, oh my gosh, who thinks I have a cute butt? But when you're putting your name on the messages and sending them back and forth, this is a shit way to communicate.
It's so fucking stupid. It's like the stupidest shit ever. And I'm like, what? Like, it's not, but the thing is, like, maybe they did it for comedy, but it's not even funny. And it's not really even cute. Like, so, like, what the fuck?
It's just something that creates problems. It's a life hack that creates more problems.
That's the thing. I was around episode 4 or 5, and I was recommending it to people. I even, so my friend came to visit me from out of town, and I even made him watch an episode or two of the show. And it was like the episodes where, like, they break Tay's, I think, hard drive, like the hard drive 1 or whatever it was. And they had like a project or a save on there, right? And so then they had to I liked it because the whole intern gang was trying to fix the problem, and it just showed their camaraderie, and it showed their, that they like all cared about each other, and they don't want any of them to fuck up and get in trouble. And it was like, but it was also like hilarity ensues, and like they're all sneaking off and like covering for each other and things like that. And after my friend watched it, and he doesn't really watch BL, he doesn't really watch Thai shows, he just like, he's never watched a Thai show before, and he's like, this is really entertaining, and then it fucking crumbles. And I'm like, I can't recommend this show anymore. Like, it just got stupid. And it just, like, again, I know it's good to start strong, but you guys have to freaking think about the end too. Like, you have to end strong as well. So, like, when shit just, like, makes no sense, like, you don't care anymore, you got, the first viewerships, and they started coming, and you have Off Gun's name, so it's like, we don't care if it's shit. And by the way, their little cooking one before this one was even shittier than this one. Talk about just a premise with, like, no real plot, but, like,
Yeah, I remember that was boring as hell.
It was so boring. You guys gotta fucking think about how to end shit. You can't just start stuff and then like, whatever, and the end.
But it goes back to like, if you don't have a guiding principle of an emotional journey, we would call them emojos in the writing room. Yeah, it's real cute. I didn't come up with that. I think it's stupid, but it's true. It's like emotional journeys. If you don't have those at the core of your story, you start to lose sight of where you're going. And then you get a bunch of episodes in and go, wait, what were we doing? And you feel the need to wrap it up. And the ending of your shows is usually when you're under the most time crunch and the most budget crunch, and you have to make decisions quicker than you did at the beginning. The beginning, you have all the time in the world. You've got the whole show in front of you. And at the end, you are sprinting with your hair on fire. And if you don't have that emotional central character journey for your characters, you lose sight of where you're going and you just can't find it. And that's why so many shows fall apart with 5 episodes, 4 episodes to go, because you were along for the ride, and then you realize the driver of the car doesn't know where they're going. Oh, they missed their exit 3 exits ago, and now you're just like frustrated. You ever been back in the back of an Uber when the Uber driver gets lost? Like, that's what it feels like.
So I say this all the time. And like, I know a lot of people get frustrated with like the same structure. And I get it. Like, it's like too repetitive and like to the point where people are like, oh, the 11th episode curse, because, you know, it's like, if you're talking about romance, you know, it's always like, you know, couple meets, they like each other through the courtship, they get together, they break up, they get back together. That's the structure. You follow the structure, that's why. But without structure, it's like a building. If you don't have structure, the whole building crumbles. You need that foundation first. And I feel like a lot of these projects, they don't have structure. They don't care about it. They just want to throw in a bunch of scenes that they think is really cute. And they're like, oh, this would be nice if this happened. And this would be nice if this happened. And then they just stick it together, and all that shit crumbles because it doesn't make sense. There's no like cohesiveness to it. And it's just shit. So like, stories need structure. And it's like nowadays, like, people just throw that shit out the window.
I think that's my big problem with fan service, is that some movies just feel like a collection of fan service where they're like, remember that one show we saw where like they had this meet cute this way? Let's do that scene. Oh, you remember that? You know, this other thing we like that we really did that we did 3 movies ago? Let's do that thing because the fans really liked that when they had that cute moment. And then that will call back to that moment they had in this other drama. And at some point, you're right, it just becomes a collection of scenes. And listen, I think by now I've seen every version of 2 people are romantically cute with each other. Like, I've just seen every version of it. So you're never going to shock me or surprise me or make me go like, whoa, you came up with that cute way to like leave a piece of candy on your coworker's desk. Seen it all. Like, it's not going to be cute. But if there's an emotional attachment to the meaning of that candy or the placement of that candy or the type, like, make me invested in the moment rather than just going, hey, you know what's cute in a bubble, like by itself? Puppies are really cute. So what if he gave him a puppy? You're like, okay, I like puppies too, but I need more. I need to know what that puppy means. Hate to harp on it. I need to know the metaphor. I need to know the emotional journey that puppy is a part of. But puppies are really cute.
Yeah, I like puppies.
But there are no puppies in this. Are there puppies in this?
No. Okay, so my last gripe, and I like, it's not even just this one. I feel like almost every single drama has some sort of like, oh, the one person goes away for a period of time, and it's all like in the last episode. So like, when they go away, it really doesn't really do anything other than like, oh, they're going away, and then like 2 minutes later, scene wise, you know, they come back, and it's supposedly like years have gone by, or like it goes from like 1 year to, in this case, 5 fucking years he goes away for, and then comes back. And like, the thing is, he literally does not contact Ryan for 5 fucking years. Do you know how long 5 fucking years is? And you get nothing, not a word, not a fucking postcard, nothing.
Not a tweet, not a comment on an Instagram post.
Exactly. Like, what the fuck? Like, and then you come back expecting him to have waited for you for the 5 years? Fuck you. Ryan should marry someone else.
Well, it's very weird in the digital age because people have full-on relationships over 2 iPads. Like, people have military people are away from home for 2 years and they have marriages through FaceTime with so to say, like, hey, I really care about someone, but I'm going to go dark on them for 5 years, no contact. They don't know if I'm alive or dead unless they're stalking me on social media, maybe. I don't know. Either way. But that's just, it feels so extreme. It feels like you hate the person. Like, in today's day. In the 1980s, like, I would get it where you're like, hey, I'm going overseas. Like, I'm going to a town where they don't have great phone service. There's no cell phones. Like, I have to walk 10 miles just to get to a telephone. It feels like an old-fashioned idea to go away and go no contact and that be normal.
And, like, they just threw a line at it. It's like, oh, I didn't want to because I felt like if I had talked to you, then I would run right back and then give up on this thing. And I'm like, fuck you very much.
Weak-willed motherfucker.
It's just like, and the thing is, again, other fucking dramas have done this, and it's just so stupid. And I just can't stand it. And I'm like, guys, like, can we get rid of this fucking trope? It doesn't work. Like, going away for 5 years and not talking to them is fucking ghosting them. That is what ghosting is.
Like, well, that's my joke back. Like, we were watching K-dramas way back when, and I was like, why does every K-drama have someone go to study abroad? Like, every single one of them, whether it starts with, oh, I was in the States studying and now I'm back, or like at the end, oh, I'm going to go study abroad, and that's always the obstacle. I'm going to go study abroad. I'm like, why are they always going to study abroad all the time in every show? I don't understand.
But it's just always at the end too.
Well, they can't get rid of the actor.
I know, but it's just like, what? Like,
but it's one of those things, like, think about it though. You couldn't have him go away mid-show because you can't have that actor off screen, and you also, now you're only going to see that actor through FaceTime. You're not going to build a set, and you're not going to build him characters in the new place.
I know.
And have to be like, well, cut to him in Munich, Germany, just Muniching around the town. Like, so you could only do it at the very beginning or the very end. But then I agree with you of like, well, then why do it at all?
Yeah.
Like, what is the purpose of this? Oh, the longing makes the heart grow fonder bullshit.
But also, like, he could have just been promoted to be a director. So many people learn on the job, right? Like, he was stuck at this company being an assistant director. And he kept asking, like, the owner of the company / also a director, like, why didn't you pick my project? Why didn't you pick my project? Right? And I'm like, also, why didn't that owner be like, oh, well, you could have done this better and you could have done this better. And then you learn on the fucking job to not just be an assistant director, but to be a director also. And then you can get promoted or whatever. But it's just like, why did you feel like, again, they did not need to go out of the country to become a director.
Also,
just to come back and do more directing for ads and like,
yeah, do the same thing.
Yeah.
But also, I'm just gonna say it, Jane feels a little bit like a loser. Because, I'm sorry, like, you have 5 years of studying what about directing? Like, what is grad school? Like, you go to USC grad school and say directing for 2 years. You're done in 2 years. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing 5 years? What are you even doing?
Yeah.
Like, I think you might just be a shitty director. I think that's the explanation. What are you doing for 5 years? I didn't want to call home because I really suck at this directing thing, and it was really embarrassing. That's the only explanation that works.
Anyway, that is like my biggest gripe, and it just like kind of ruined it for me. Like,
honestly, the second that characters go away for years with no contact and then come back and expect anything emotional from someone else, I'm out. I'm so out. And we've watched a few things now where, like, you know, these like first love shows where someone's gone away for 10 years and now they've come back and they're so obsessed with their first love that they haven't seen in 10 years and they're trying to rekindle this love. And like, I don't buy it as a way into a story. So I'm certainly not going to buy it as the way out of the story. Like, fuck you very much.
Yeah. So my rating is stepping out for fresh air. The bottle has dropped.
The bottom has dropped out of this episode. My rating will be land sickness. You can't do the copy machine and the leaves the country for 5 years in the same show and expect anything but very deep groans of disgust from me. My tummy hurts.
Yeah. So.
Do you have a recommendation? Shouldn't have used that 55-15 in the middle of the episode there, should you?
It has nothing to do with anything about this. I was trying to think if there was a movie or something that was like very interny production wise, but we did the TV set thing.
Well, yeah, that's way depressing, and I'm trying to think if there's like a fun.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't watch Extras, like the HBO show, but like something like that like takes place on film sets that's like fun and light and like
there were some Asian ones, but I can't remember any of them. Because there's that Korean
There's a new one out now, but I don't know how to recommend a show I've never seen.
Yeah.
So there's a new one out now called The Franchise or something. It's like about making like a superhero movies.
I don't want to recommend something that we can't back up. Like,
yeah, I know.
I want to recommend things that we like.
Yeah. I mean, Sports Night.
Oh, I like that one. That's really good.
I mean, Sports Night is as good as it's ever been done as far as like inside the making of.
Yeah.
Like, but it's about a sports show, obviously.
Yeah. Let's do that.
Okay. Let me just.
I watched this hell of
I have it on TV.
I mean, it was on rerun all the time.
Yeah, there's only 2 seasons of it. Okay, I can do it. So today our recommendation is an oldie but a very goodie. It is the 1998 Aaron Sorkin drama Sports Night, which is behind the scenes of, you know, an ESPN style sports show with the, you know, the stars of the show and the producers and the people in the booth and all the things that take to make a show. And it was groundbreaking in the way it was kind of a half hour. I wouldn't even call it a sitcom. It was a half hour, what we would now call a single camera comedy, before single camera comedy really exists. There was no laugh track.
There was laugh track.
Well, they added it later because they felt they needed it. But I think originally it was not made with laugh track. And because it's not a sitcom, it's a smart comedy about a sports show. And then the network got really afraid about it because the audience was not really ready for the show. And so the network kind of was like, no, we'll make it more sitcom-y and add a laugh track and do all the things a sitcom does, and basically killed the show after 2 seasons. But if you ask anyone who knows TV and loves television, Sports Night is one of the best shows no one's ever seen.
I watched the shit out of the show. Like, I don't know. I mean, there's only 2 seasons, but I've watched it so many times over and over and over and over again that I felt like there was like a million seasons, because it was something that I never got sick of. I watched it so much. The comedy is so right on. All the like chemistry between your leads, and then the romance that ultimately happens. It just all works, and it's just so good.
And they do some deep, heavy topics, and they do some very light, fun topics. And I honestly think it's so well acted, so well directed, so well written. It was way ahead of its time. I think now we look at things like, Arrested Development and Curb Your Enthusiasm and all these shows that are Emmy-winning shows. They all need to look at Sports Night and go, that was really the birth of this kind of show. Like Always Sunny in Philadelphia, all these shows that take you out of that, multi-camera sitcom, King of Queens style thing. They were trying something very different with the show, and we're doing it, 10 years, 15 years before anybody else was. And it really is. I don't think it's, obviously it's going to be of the time of 1998, but it is still very rewatchable now. And they deal with some heavy subjects before anyone wanted to touch them.
Yeah.
So go check that out. You can find it. Weirdly, the best place to find it is almost like used DVD stores, but also I'm sure it's streaming
somewhere.
I don't know who owns the rights to it, but I'm sure it's streaming somewhere.
Yeah. And that is it for our episode. See you next time.
Thank you for listening.